Hi everyone, it's Friday, May 6, 2016 at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, and this is Higher Ed Special Edition. I'm your host, Erin Spinka, and on today's live broadcast, we're talking about unlocking your website as a data channel to improve user experience. One of the greatest hidden benefits to usability testing is gaining credibility with faculty and administration. Getting caught in the endless debate about whose opinion is correct or how your website should be structured is the worst. Today we'll talk about how you can get yourself to a place where everyone is comfortable asking, what does the data say? On our broadcast today, I'm joined by directors from Farmingdale State College and Diablo Valley College. Together, we'll learn how to use online tools and student email addresses to gather data first. The value of this data is immeasurable. You'll hear how usability testing, in addition to data analysis, will arm you with information you need to cut through internal politics. Higher Ed Special Edition is part of the Higher Ed Live Network, offering viewers direct access to the best and brightest minds in education. Live broadcasts allow viewers to share knowledge and participate in discussions around the most important issues in the industry. Today's live viewing experience is powered by Maestro, the premier marketing tech platform by broadcasters. All episodes of Higher Ed Special Edition are free and accessible in the video archives at higheredlive.com and in podcast format on iTunes. Today's episode is made possible by OmniUpdate, the leading provider of web content management and digital marketing solutions for higher education. The company's user-friendly platform and award-winning technology empowers 60,000 plus users to be engaged and personalized in online communications with prospects, students, faculty, staff, alumni, and the community. Whether you're looking for a CMS, online course catalog, faculty directory, blog, or email marketing solution, check out OmniUpdate at omniupdate.com. Higher Ed Live is produced by M. Stoner, a marketing and communications firm that works with education institutions on branding, strategy, web design, and more. We're about to share a link to M. Stoner's ebook on information architecture. A well-thought-out, well-organized structure for your content will make it easier for visitors to find information and engage with your institution. The ebook includes best practices and examples. Download it now. And now I can introduce our wonderful guests. I have Sylvia Nicholsi joining us from the Advancement Office at Institutional Advancement at Farmingdale College. She's the Director of Web Programming and Development, and in this position, she oversees the college website and content management system. And also, we have Chrissy-Ann Knox, who's been the Director and Marketing Communications at Diablo Valley College for 10 years. Prior to being named Director, she worked as a part-time writer and publications editor under the former Director. Sylvia and Chrissy-Ann, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you both. And before we jump right into the questions, I want to let everybody know that please ask us questions using the Higher Ed Live hashtag, and I'll do my best to ask questions as they come in. Welcome, Sylvia and Chrissy-Ann.
Hi. Hi.
Very happy to be here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. And so jumping right into the questions that we've come up already for you, Sylvia, let's start with you. Can you tell me a little bit about your role at Farmingdale? I understand that you lead you've led the college's most recent web design project. What else falls under your umbrella there?
Yes, I'm the project manager. I was a project manager for our latest web redesign. It was a project that about 8 people on our web team, and we went live just this past year on June 2015. Now, in addition of the website, I'm also in charge of our content management system, anything related about programming and development for our website. And I'm also in charge of our users, our content contributors, training, and our Google Analytics.
Okay. Wow, that's quite the umbrella.
Mention a few.
Chrissy-Ann, you've been at Diablo Valley for 16 years. What kind of changes have you seen at the college and in the web during that time? Because the web has changed quite a bit in just the past year, 2 years. So 16 years, I'm sure there's been a lot of changes.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's been changing out there a lot faster than it's been changing here. But I think we all do.
I think we can all relate.
Yeah. But when I first started at Diablo Valley College, there was one half-time, I think she was a student originally, that was updating the web pages as people just asked her to and stuff. And there really wasn't too much to the web. It was pretty small. And just in the time that I've been here, I've seen huge changes. But in 2005, we started the process of a major redesign. That's when we joined OmniUpdate, and we also began. we had a company come in and help us and do some research and do a redesign. I'm really jealous when I hear that Sylvia had a team of 8. We just didn't have enough people to implement, even though we had a company helping us. So that first web redesign that we did was really pretty unsuccessful, in its full implementation. It was like, and we were all dissatisfied with it, partly because, like I said, we didn't have the staff that we needed to really pull it off. So ever since then, we've been kind of using the philosophy of painting the Golden Gate Bridge and just doing whatever we can a little bit at a time. So there hasn't really been anything comprehensive since then. But the biggest change is starting June 1st. This coming June 1st, our new senior web administrator is going to start. And we're putting a whole lot of hope in one guy. But, we hope that we're going to be able to make some more progress. We also have Omni Update helping us with certain things. And so we're going to launch a new stopgap web page, homepage at least, to start off our new process. So, but lot of change out there, not enough in here.
Well, someone starting full-time is a great first step. I know that has to be so exciting. And so back to Sylvia real fast. You speak about redesigns that inform a better user experience. How does data and analytics inform your design decisions?
Well, for us, we use a combination of quantitative and qualitative data for any decisions we do from the redesign that we just went through till now. We use Google Analytics to find out about what our audiences are looking for, and we use quantitative data in a form of information inquiries from our audiences in order to back up all that information from Google Analytics. So in other words, we get the what is it that they're looking for from Google Analytics, but then from all this pool of data that we have, we get like the justification, like we find out the why they're looking for that information and how they're looking for that information. So now it's just not only a set of Google data that you have in a spreadsheet, but now we also have justification on why we place certain link, why it's on the header, or why it's going to be on the footer, or why this link it doesn't go on the home page, for example. So really, it's very interesting now to see that we can that now everybody listens. It's not just us in our department. We just want to do this because we want to know. There's a scientific reason behind us, and we have all this data to demonstrate and to prove it.
Yes, even just whenever we do our month-to-month analytics for data based on social media posts or stories that we've written, you always, when you see a spike and then you can connect it to the context of why this happened, it's so important, because then you at least can move forward with how do we replicate that. Maybe you don't want to replicate it. Maybe it's people going to a page, or it's like the frequently asked questions and they're clicking on this same question because they can't find the information anywhere else. And so the context is a huge part. Chris-Ann, do you use similar strategies at Diablo? What kind of has been your experience with analytics and data analysis?
Yeah, I would say that we use the same process in different tools. I mean, we use Google Analytics also to get like she said, to get the what, to find out. And the biggest lesson that we learned from the not terribly successful redesign that we did in the past was that there's just huge value to doing the research yourself, and it sounds like that Sylvia's learned that too. But it's not just for the website. It's just kind of learning how our students think, which can help you in every department, in all kinds of different ways. And it's so fun to present this usability research to them and watch them make the discovery that we already discovered, but we don't tell them that. We just let them discover it for themselves, going, oh, wow, students don't understand what exemptions means. And we've been telling them, all this about go into exemptions, but they don't know what that is, so they don't click on it. You know, things like that. You find out, and it's fun to watch them find out, and it changes how they do business, not just on the website, but everywhere. So that's what we learned is the real value to it. But the web-based usability tool that we use is called the Optimal Workshop, and you can find it at optimalworkshop.com. They are very generous, I feel like, with their higher education discount. So we have an annual license with them, and we just test the heck out of every question we can think of. And you know, one thing we do have in abundance is students. You know, we have 22,000 students, so it, you know, we get a lot of responses. We have Samsung tablets that we give away every, you know, couple hundred tests, or not couple hundred tests, but a couple hundred students that we test. You know, we'll do a drawing, and that keeps them interested. We do have to weed out the ones that are clearly doing it just to get the tablet. You know, you can look at their responses and see that, you know, they missed every single one of them, and they weren't even logical, that they weren't playing nice. But anyway, so we've but we do, like Sylvia, start with Google Analytics and some other things to find out what questions to ask them and what to test on the website, what kinds of things that they are looking for on the website, and then we use the Optimal Workshop to find out how they're finding those things, or if they're finding them successfully.
And so you both are performing all this usability testing and asking people, how are you using the site? What are you struggling with? How do you make sure that then the site architecture aligns with those user expectations? You get all the data back, you see how people are interacting. How do you move forward with making the decisions of how to set up the site?
So for us, that's really what Optimal Workshop does for us. I mean, you sort of replicate your navigation with a usability test, and so you build it, you know, with the things in it that you want to see if it's working or not working, and then what you're going for is 80%. That's the industry standard according to Optimal Workshop, that, you know, you can't get everybody all the time, but it's also that it's 80% to a right answer, not necessarily the right answer, because obviously we have multiple places where we have content that they might be looking for. So, but then we also learned that, wow, we thought that we would put it here, but everybody looked there, so we don't even need to have it here. So we might pull something, or vice versa. We may say, oh, we need to have the content there. It would have made sense for us to put the content there, but now we're going to. So we'll make their answer right, and then voila, you got to 80%. So, you know, there's some massaging and everything, but it's fun to try and figure out, you know, if it's working or not. But at the end, you have data that says this structure works.
In our case, what we did when we went to our second this past redesign, it took us about almost 3 years to work together and research and looking at our data. But for us, what really made successful now the way we have our information architecture on our website, with Google Analytics, you know, when we did our filter by IP addresses, and then we also did our segmentation to see what the external and the internal people were looking for, and also by device, because even by device, people were looking the same information in different ways. So that kind of gave us an idea. And we also look for landing pages and the bounce rate. What landing pages had the highest bounce rate, and all that information. And we also did a search on all the queries of the search box. When people entered, we did all that. Now with the data that we had to back up all these Google Analytics, what we have, and we have since forever, we have, you know, at the bottom how every college has a contact us form. We have this form that is set up in such a way. We used to get all that information, our department, and then we used to forward it to whatever department. But you know, that's insane. We used to get like so many emails, and that was just crazy. So what we did with that form back then, we didn't know it was going to be so useful. But back then, what we did, we set up this form that okay, this is your name. Give us your name, your email. What question is this about? Is this a question about admissions? Is this for student accounts? Is this for campus life? We have like 8 or 10 categories. And then we have another one for other unsure. And then people in the text box, they type the question, what the question they have, and then when they hit submit, automatically, if they selected admission, it goes to admission. If it's selected student life, it goes to student life. But our department, we have all this information. So now we have all this. It was so useful for us because before we had the old website, when we had our information architecture, it was based on what we thought what students were looking for. But now, for example, on Google Analytics, we saw, for example, if the admissions page, landing page, had like a very high bounce rate, and then we will look at this data that we had so many requests for admissions information. So that kind of, okay, you know, they expect to find this information. And then another thing that happens, you know, it happened to us, and I'm pretty sure it happens in a lot of colleges too, that many of our departments were very kind of possessive, you know, like admissions on their website has to be information only for admissions. You know, the information for the dean of students, only information for the dean of students. But now the data, it was showing us that, you know, they will go to admissions looking for orientation information. But that information for orientation, it was in the dean of students because that belonged to the dean of students. Now, as a student, I don't know how the internal department works. You know, if I want to go to admissions, I want to expect to find information about orientation. So that was another thing that when we started to place now categories based on repetition of all this data. And then with this data, we were able to finally convince admissions and the dean of students, listen, I know you want your orientations, you know, information here, but you know, they want to see it on the admission side. So again, this is just an example of how we did it, and then based on each repetition, every data that repeated a lot, with this information, we were able to kind of place categories, and like, for example, like the most important, the 15 top links for each category, they will go on the drop-down, the global navigation, the drop-down. The next 35 most important links, now they will go onto the landing page. Anything that internal people, and based on the device, what they were looking for, we put it on the secondary navigation. And then anybody who was looking for the same information on desktop, mobile devices, and tablets, we make sure that it stays always, that it doesn't hide. You know, when you collapse into mobile devices, you get those hamburger menus. Well, that information that it was, that everybody was looking a lot, we make sure that always stays visible. And then any other information that us as an institution we want to promote goes in the footer. A lot of information of this data that people kept looking for information, but they couldn't find it on the website. So for example, like alumni legacy tuition, we don't have that. But you know, we had a lot of inquiries. Do you have it? Do you have it? Do you have it? Well, at least we gotta have the duty to let them know, no, we don't have it. So any kind of inquiries like this, we did a specific FAQ page that is at the bottom of every page, is on the footer. So this way, when they look for it, okay, it's there. And then any information that didn't fit on any of this category, it went to the AC links page. So now with this information, everybody was happy. You know, all along the way, we always kept the campus informed. You know, this is what we're doing. This is a link. Can you test? We use a lot of workshops for them to come and see the progress of the website. And now with this information, now everybody was happy. They could understand why you could not be on the top navigation, but you are on the AC links. Why? So I'm sorry, I get too excited about all this, but this is what we did. And now, you know, now the information with the Google Analytics, we can see that, you know, it has been successful. The information, because it's tailored specific to us, to what our prospective students are looking for, what our current students are looking for, and our goal is always to give them the information within one link, maximum 2 links from, regardless of where they are on the web page. I mean, on the website.
That's an incredible goal to have. Anything else you wanted to add, Christiane?
Well, I mean, for basically we approach all of the same questions slightly differently, and again, we're just using the optimal workshop tools. But there's 3 different tests that you can use for that, and one of them, the first one is a card sort, which is they call it the optimal sort, but it's you give students categories, and then you give them lots and lots of different things, items, and have them sorted into a category. And that is the least popular one we've found for students to do. Like, they'll abandon that one more often because it gets hard. And it's like, welcome to our world. It is hard. Thank you. but anyway, so but then the other 2, the tree jack is a reverse card sort, where you basically build a navigation, and then they click, and they click through it, and then in the results you can see everywhere they went. You can see each individual and how much they struggled, if they went back or forth, and then they finally get to a place where they say, yes, I think it would be here. You don't always give them the right answer at the end. You don't tell them where it would be. They just have to say where they think it would be, and that's so helpful for us learning. Well, where did they look first? Even if they did find it in the first, eventually, if they looked first somewhere else, and then when they got there, they saw, oh, it wouldn't be here. But if a majority of them went there first, and it's like, oh, we didn't even go down the right path to begin with. So you can really learn a ton from just seeing what they did. And we get, 500 students in a pool sometimes for. Usually now we cut it off sooner than that because we don't want that much data. Sometimes that's just a little bit too much to go through. But and then the last test that they do is called a first click test, which really creates a heat map of where everybody clicked on a static. And it can either be a wireframe that you're testing, or it can be a screenshot of your homepage or a screenshot of your proposed homepage, and then see if they actually find it. But what Optimal Workshop really is based around is tasks. So you think about the tasks that the student would need to do, and you get that, like Sylvia from Google Analytics. What are the things that they were looking for? What are the things? We also have a feedback tab on our website too. That's a little Feedbackify, we use that company, and it's very, very basic, but it tells us when people don't find what they were looking for, and it gives them a place to click when they don't find it, and doesn't mean we'll help them find it, but they'll at least get to vent about it, and then we get the feedback, and we know that there's an issue, and just like we manually forward it on. But I'd love to hear about your new forms. Those sound awesome. Is that through how many updates that you do those forms?
Actually, the forms, we have them through Woofoo.
Oh, okay. We have
because back then when we did with Omni Update, we didn't go with that. We said we're gonna do it at a later time. But then it was one instance that we needed it right away, so that's why we went through Woofoo. But Woofoo integrates very well with Omni Update, which that's what I love about Omni Update.
Yeah, I like Woofoo, so that's good. But anyway, so we'll ask students questions like, does CVC offer a culinary program? And then see if where they would look for it, And one of the things that we've learned is that students never click on academics. We have that there because everybody wants it to be there. They don't know what that means. They don't click on it, So we have to have an alternative to academics. And then we're trying to just get rid of it. But politically, I'm not sure that's going to happen. So we might still have a link that says academics, and nobody will go to it. It just takes up space. But, you do all of the analytics and all of the data, and everything's really good, and then you got a little bit of political stuff. But
if you get rid of academics, I'm like, you should throw a huge party. That would be amazing.
I'll let you guys all know if we pull that off. But,
Yeah, that would be amazing. So back to Sylvia real fast. What's been the biggest difference you've seen in user behavior since your website redesign?
Well, after we went live right away, within the first 6 months, we saw a decrease in of these inquiries. Obviously, paired with our Google Analytics that show the path that they were finding what they were looking for. From every area, all the areas that we had problems, admissions, financial aid, registrar, like a very noticeable decrease. Now, it's not perfect. I mean, we still have request, but now we have where to look for. We go to our contact us information, and now we can have all this information. If it needs to be integrated, then we can do so. For example, like the global navigation is not set on stone. It's going to stay like that forever. No, we continuously look into our both data. If it's a department that lately has been, the content contributor has been working on their content, they have the page updated, it's nice, they haven't like a increase. Of course, if you deserve to be on the global navigation, you're going to be placed over there too. And then again, we base all this information. If it's something that needs to be added to the AC links, it's going to go to the AC links, FAQ, and etc. And also what we notice as well, we have more goal conversions, which is also very good. I guess, from the configuration for them, it's easier now to find information to apply, to go to the virtual tour, and etc. And I think the most noticeable thing when we went live, we went to a redesign back in 2012. That was the first one we did when we started with Omni Update. And yeah, the first week when we went live, yeah, we had like a lot of feedback, but like a lot of feedback. This time, when we went live, I mean, I came on there literally hoping to, like afraid to open my email, that it was like nothing, like it can be, it can be. I mean, the feedback that we got, it was all positive. And I think that shows that, that all this redesign in a very informed, any decision that we did, it was informed. It really, really made the difference.
Yeah, I always watch whenever anyone launches, either it's a brand redo or a website relaunch, and they post it on social or they post it somewhere. This is like a guilty pleasure of mine. It's not very nice because I hope it never happens to me. But I go and I read the comments because they're so telling right away. It's like if you go there and there's no comments and the occasional positive, then you're like, wow, they did that. Like, people don't have much to talk about or to pick on, so yay!
It's like no news is good news in this case. You really want that.
You just want people to go in and be able to find stuff.
People take the time to criticize way more than they'll take the time to say, hey,
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's something it's so interesting to see the difference between something that obviously was well thought out for their users, for their audience, whoever they're trying to target, versus something that came from not a user-generated or user input space, and how different the comment threads and the responses are between those two. It's just so crazy. But going on same thread is, Cassandra, what is the importance of user testing in website decision making?
Well, I mean, before we did testing, any decision that made was just opinion, and somebody felt like their opinion was more educated than somebody else's opinion, and somebody else said, yeah, but I went to this conference and this is what they said, and then somebody else says, whatever, and ultimately the person that gets paid the most in the room is the one that wins, I mean, it was all debate and really not founded, and the students came into that debate very infrequently. It would be maybe anecdotally that a student came into my office because they couldn't find this, and that's what they're basing their entire opinion on, something being wrong, So we felt like, we have data, and that is really, really hard to argue with. So when they look, and we don't even try to argue with it, we just show them the data, and then all of a sudden, whoa, what does the data say? It's just so fun to hear them, within a single hour presentation or whatever, start talking about, wait, no, go back to that slide, look at that, and they're just really interested in the data, and that's really their students talking in a way that you can't really talk to students. You're getting their feedback, but not even what they say, but just really what they actually did. Students I mean, and they say when you interview people, they don't always know how they would react, but here you're seeing how they react. You know, it's real. So it's nice to be able to show that, and to show that, you know, they were confused, they couldn't find this, they don't know what academics means, stuff like that. So it's really very telling, and it changes the conversation. But having said that, there's still a whole lot of temptation by, it's like, oh yeah, that's great research, but why don't we just copy Yale? You know, Yale put a lot of money into, they did all this research, let's just copy theirs, you know, and it's like, well, we're not
completely different user base.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
That's always interesting to me. We're getting to a space where we're really looking at the data that we pull with information that we share, and seeing obviously the stories that do well, but then there's that kind of random one where you didn't realize was going to be really popular or really useful or really helpful, and it's super, people engage with it, people loved it, and then you know for future, like, oh, well, here's another opportunity to create something similar that does well, and it's so different from school to school, and just even age group to age group, how like obviously the alumni site would be different than an admissions site, because, you know, completely different target audiences with those. So Sylvia, do you do similar testing, that direct user testing?
We do. When we were working on the redesign, you know how there are many tools out there. There are tools that you can register, and somebody from outside, they look on your website and they do a critique. But I mean, we thought about that, but the decision was to use our same people, I mean our users to test this. So every I will say every month, but we had like a lot of workshops, you know, for students, faculty, and staff. We had when we had everything ready, the website, before we submitted all the templates to Omni Update, you know, okay, this is the layout, this is how it's going to work. So now we did a workshop for open to everybody, faculty, students, and staff. You know, it's going to be a workshop for you to test the new layout. We want your devices. You know, people came, it was good to see, they came with a tablet, with their phones. This is the link, they were playing, and we got very good feedback from them. That was in August. Then we did another one in September, you know, because a lot of faculty, they were not here in August because it was vacation. So we did another one where we had more students, you know, everybody was back. We did it, and same, you know, people came, you know, feedback very useful, you know, because now they're actually using it. You know, how can I do this? You know, why, you know, from the phone, one feedback that we got, you know, how when it goes a mobile device, they wanted to be able to stretch, you know, like if a picture, they want to stretch the picture, you know, stuff like that. You know, for us it was like, just leave it, like if it goes into mobile, able to resize the image. So this is a feedback they wanted. It's there. Then we also send all this link information to all the deans, to the chairs and deans, saying, you know, here's a link, here's the new layout, and this is a link for your feedback. What do you think? We did the same for the cabinet. So anyway, we had everybody involved, and we have their own information. That was back then. Now we still do a lot of testing. Right now we're working on an email campaign made in-house, and from a blog to have an email for everybody to the campus. And again, we're doing a testing with everybody. You know, we have the regular email that goes to everybody. We select about 500 people. Pool, you know, this is the new layout. What do you think? So we always think that it's anything that we do major, to have their input, because at the end they're the ones who are going to be using it. And then another thing that we have also for our content contributors, we have the development side. So whenever, even if they test, you know, they test a layout on their page, they created a new directory, they insert this from the snippet gallery. So we have, instead of publishing live, they can publish to the development side. So this way they can see how it will look, they can show it to their boss or whatever, and once they see that it's good, then they are able to publish it live to the website. So that's how we take care of user testing.
And so how has, oh wait, hold on. I haven't, on top of that question, kind of goes in line, is how can web managers apply user testing to website updates, and how often do you recommend this, them doing this? I know not everyone out there, I think Chris Ann can speak to this, may not have the staff to do regular testing, so what's kind of a baseline you should check in every so often, and how do people then take that data where they might not have a director or high-up official that could kind of be their cheerleader and their support to get these changes through? How do you recommend web managers in those situations apply these changes and updates?
That question is for me?
Both of you.
Oh, okay. Well, in my case, we do delegate a lot to our content contributors. So if you are a content contributor, if you want to do this testing, we cannot delegate, so it's not so centralized. That's what we do. I mean, I know when you have not enough resources, but at least to do, I guess, the best that you can do.
So we're not ever going to give up our optimal workshop license. I mean, just keep it ongoing because it's well, if you buy the tests individually, it adds up really, really quickly, and I think that we will always, especially since we are currently in the Golden Gate Bridge, we call it that's everybody knows what the Golden Gate Bridge is, right? But locally we always call it painting the Golden Gate Bridge because as soon as they finish painting it, then it's time to start painting it again. So so basically that's kind of how we one department at a time, and by the time we get through the whole then we have to start over again. So but while we're doing that, everybody's always wanting to either add something or rearrange something, merge something, pull something separated, and so every single time there's a major change like that, we just say we want to test it, and it's easy enough to do. It pulls the debate out. If somebody says we want ours to be just like that college, we'll say, okay, before we do that, let's see if the way that college has it is better than the way we have it. Or we could propose a third way, and we just test, and we can even do that side by side. We can build 3 different, versions of it and see how students do. And it's very eye-opening. A lot of times the one that they really liked, is the worst one, And it could be as simple as because they use slightly different terms, than we do, and we try and convert it to our terms, before we test it, but still, because they refer to things differently, they might group them together differently, and in the end, it confuses our students. So even at another California community college, it can still be very different. So I mean, that's the thing that is frustrating when people say, let's just copy somebody. It's like, I wouldn't mind copying somebody if I knew that they did all of this research, at least to start with, and then, and then test and see from there. It's great to start with something good to test, but my goal is to be the college in California that people want to copy, because we are doing all of the research. So that's kind of how I'm trying to sell it to faculty, who are, would rather us get this all done faster, and it's like, give us more staff and we'll get it done faster. But we just would really like to be the one that people want to copy because we are doing the work. We want to do it right. So.
Yeah, and I mean, with that attitude, I imagine that you will soon be the one that everyone looks at because so many people just go with, oh, well, we think this is the best way that it works. And I do a lot of work with social media managers around campus and departments and organizations that want to start up just social media platforms. And the question that always seems to be the number one that I go to that is always the one that they have to think about or realize they haven't done is they say, oh, well, we want to get a Facebook page for Department XYZ. Well, have you asked the students in Department XYZ or the faculty or the staff that will they go there for that information? Because a lot of the times people use it as a way to advertise events and courses and other things. And it's like, well, did you ask them if this is where they're looking for this content? And most of the times they say, they come back and they find out that their students actually really like getting in an email form, and that they probably wouldn't go on Facebook or see anything additional on Facebook. And so it's just always interesting to me that we forget that so crucial part of, will people actually use it? Will people actually use it the way that we intended it to be used? How is it going to happen? And that's so interesting that we're just having those conversations now after having websites and all these different platforms for years for organizations. And so we were a little slow, but we're there, right? And we're usability, and this user testing is something I hear about all the time now, which is a great thing, because you never heard about it before. No one was doing these types of things, and so it's a really great conversation to have, and you two are really awesome experts on it. And so I'm really excited that you're here talking to us about it.
Let me just say, because you said we might be the ones people are going to copy, don't copy us yet. It's not, what's up there is not what, our research is reflecting. Wait a little while, then copy us.
Good. And then, so we've talked about users, we've talked about faculty and staff, but what about stakeholders? How has this user data changed the conversations that you have with the other stakeholders that are in these discussions and in these redesigns? Christiane, let's start with you.
Okay. So one of the things that our stakeholders are, I said before, they all have a hard time setting aside their personal opinion and their personal experiences with websites, but again, with the data in front of them, it's sort of hard to say, but I don't like it, because I think they're seeing, well, who's the target? So I guess it really comes down to who the target audience is, and convincing the stakeholders that they are not our audience. In this usability testing lynda.com class I took, the guy kept saying over again, you are not your user, and he said it over and over again until it became like a mantra, and that sometimes helps them to realize that, so many of our websites originally reflected our org charts, right? It was just all about us and a reflection of us and how we're organized and who we are and everything. And students didn't get any of that, So like, what? I'm so confused, And so they're learning to the data helps them learn to set aside their personal experience with the website. And, I don't know about you. It sounds like Sylvia's a little more diplomatic in their approach, but we're really trying to make everybody understand that this is our primary marketing tool and communication tool, and our primary audience is the prospective student. Our secondary audience is the current student, and everybody else can find their stuff somewhere, but we're not going to go, we're not looking to knock ourselves out to make it really easy for them. And if you start trying to make it everything for everybody, then you really confuse your focus. And so we really want the focus to be on, basically it's an enrollment management tool. We need people to get in. And you were saying that you noticed a increase in people actually enrolling and getting through with the redesign. So, it does make a difference. And right now I think we're pretty confusing. So, we're really looking forward to being to implement something that is more intuitive for students just trying to enroll. And I just, I wonder how many of them get confused and just go, oh, to heck with this, and go somewhere else. So we want to avoid that.
Very much so. Sylvia, do you have any other tips for working with campus partners?
Yes, I think the most important thing is always communication. Communicate with everybody from the top to the bottom. Have a good web governance. I think that's also very important. As Christiane mentioned it, to make them understand, it's not your website, it's the college website. And For us, that was very important because, for example, with this new website, they understand, that the homepage is not a direct, directory. It's not the yellow pages. It's something that promotes the college, that you want to attract prospect students. So now they understand, that why. This is going to be on the carousel, why this is going to be on the news section, or why it's not going to be there. I mean, at least now they understand, and I think part of it is the communication. I also have like a lot of communication with the content contributors. Every month I always have an open session, a training. If I have 3, if I have 10, it's great, but at least they know they're always there. And at every workshop, I always tell them, in addition to teach them, how the content management system works, but also kind of like policies, what to do, what not to do. That also works very well. And then also, whatever you want to talk to your stakeholders, always bring your data with you. Always anticipate what they're going to say. So this way you have why. It's because of this. So that's my best advice.
And then the final question for today, what is one piece of advice that you would give to a colleague who wants to implement some strategies that we've discussed today? And then that's to both of you, so whoever wants to go first.
I would just say everything takes longer than expected. I mean, just always, don't make promises about how long something's going to take without adding at least 25 or 50% onto it, and if you can deliver ahead of time, that's awesome, but,
Makes you look better too, right?
Yeah, so all of this stuff takes time. Doing anything right takes time, and doing shortcuts takes even more time in the end. I mean, I think it does, so.
Very, very solid advice. I think we can all relate to things taking longer, but as long as it comes out the way it's supposed to be, like you said, shortcuts make it longer because you have to go back and fix it at the end of the day. Sylvia, what's your advice?
It's very important to have the support from the top, either from your boss, and if your boss can have the support from his boss and his boss, that will really will make things easier down the road, especially within website redesign and web projects. Once you have the support from the top, it's easier to convince and to have everybody on board. And again, always communicate with everybody. Have the most people possible, the people that should be involved in the project all the time. And always plan. No, if you say, okay, this project is going to take me 1 year. Like within a year you're not ready, take your time. I think that's very important. You wanna move to the next phase until you know that what you have is good and it works. Until you have that security, then go to the next phase. I think that's the best advice. That's what we did. Well, we had a 2-year deadline. It took us 3 years, but you know what? It was worth it because it came out good and everybody was happy. So that's the best thing.
Well worth it in the end, right?
Yes.
So that brings us to the end of our show today. I want to thank, as always, to our program sponsors, Omni Update and mStoner, and a huge thank you to you guys, Chrissy-Ann and Sylvia, for joining me today. And a very, very special thank you for everyone who tuned in, and have a great Friday, everyone. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you, Chrissy-Ann.
Thank you.